Well, hello, me lords and ladies, and welcome to Chris Ball's Pick of the Month for being a Nerd Knights royalty member, where Chris has picked this marvelous looking miniature from Aeon Trespass Odyssey. It's like a, I don't know what it is, giant Tauros mutant looking thing. Looks pretty good. First off, I want to say thank you to all my YouTube members. You guys are absolutely amazing. You will get early access to this on Sunday. This will be Monday's video. Anybody who watches the channel, thank you, thank you, thank you. A lot of steps, but not too hard. All right, let's go. All right, the first thing you are going to do before you start painting this thing, obviously, is scrape off any mold lines you can see. I missed a couple. Horrible at that. And then I am spray painting it with Mechanicus Standard Gray. Once you spray paint it, we are going to paint all of the octopus-looking things with some Diamante Hide. So this is going to be mostly the head areas, except for the paneling, and then the tail that is coming out with all the suckers on it. I've never played Aeon Trespass Odyssey. Obviously, I own it, because unfortunately I do more painting than I do playing board games. But from talking to Cristobal, it is a phenomenal game, and I don't know anything about this boss, but it looks like it'd be a fun fight. All right. For most of the paneling, so a vast majority of this miniature, we are going to be using some Molten Bronze. This is going to take a long time to paint over all of these areas. So you have, obviously, on the torso of this thing, whatever it is, and then you are going to go over the paneling that's on the head. If we can differentiate between the head and the tail, the sucker portion is going to be the tail, I'm assuming, and then the head is obviously where the eyeball is sticking out as well. Again, this is going to take you some time, but there's going to be another spot in this video that's going to take you more time, but I feel like it really helps with developing this miniature. So as we skip ahead here, you can see that we're working on the paneling on the head as well. We're keeping the hooves as is right now. We're going to paint them a different metallic looking color. Now, the art for this miniature that's provided by the game, you don't see a whole lot of it. So you kind of guess. So this is kind of just what my imagination thought of while looking at this miniature. There's like a circuit breaker box. That's what I'm assuming it is. That's what my brain thought immediately it was. So just paint around that circuit breaker box, and then we'll hit up those circuits later. So don't worry about that right now. All right. Since we just mentioned that circuit breaker box, it might be something totally different. I don't know what it is, but this looks like a mechanical Tauros type thing. And Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But we're going to paint that inside of that with some Black Legion. As you'll see here in the next frame, we will be doing the insides of like those rivets that are connecting like the joints of our miniature. As you can also tell that I got those kind of end pieces, connectors around some of that paneling as well. So we're doing all that in Black Legion. For the top little grassy area, again, I don't know what this is. No clue. So I'm just going off cusp here. It looks like grass to me. That's what my mind thought it was. So that's what we're sticking with. So we're going to take some Castellan Green and paint that top grass area. It could be something else. I don't know. But that's where we're at. Two flags, one on each side or bilaterally on the upper portion of this monster. We're going to do some Thousand Suns blue on each of them. for the grotesque looking inside of the mouth for this thing, we're going to be doing some Screamer Pink. So it's the tongue and then the top portion as well, going all the way up to the bowl skull area up top. All right, for the bull helmet, you're going to notice that there's paneling on there as well. We're going to do a different color, base color on those panels. So you can do the Molten Bronze if you want to, but we're going to go with a darker paint. And I know I'm kind of mixing and matching here with Citadel and P3 paints. For some reason, I like the P3 metallics, specifically the bronzes, better for P3 than I do Citadel. Citadel has very good silvers, and I prefer those over other paints, but the dark bronzes, for some reason. So go over that helm with your Morghast Bone or similar to whatever you got. All right, again, this is my brain thought this was an actual brain. And when I painted, I'm like, oh, maybe this is hair. But I kind of like how it's exposed like a brain. So we just kept it as is, as pink. But this could be hair as well. But we're sticking with that. All right, for our last base color, before we do some washes, we're going to be doing that Deathless Metal from P3. And we're going over those panels around the top part of the skull. And then there's a little like cylinder around like that eyeball that's sticking out on the right. And we are going to do the hooves as well. So once you're done with this, we will be moving on to the wash step. Oh, we're actually going to do the circuit breaker things as well. Forgot about that. So don't forget that as well. All right, moving on to the wash. We are going to do all of our bronze areas in Agrax Earthshade. So this is going to obviously take quite a bit of wash to go over all of these areas. So all the way down, all the way up, all the way around. You can also use this on the green as well, but I went with the green wash that we'll see here in a little bit. We're also using this on the skull, the bull skull as well. So make sure you get both of those areas. For our purple areas, we're going to go with some Druchi Violet. Just slap that all over there. We will clean it up in the highlight step. Don't worry about that. So it should be the tail and the head as well. Don't forget that eyeball, both eyeballs that are sticking out, little tentacle eyeball things. Reminds me of the creature from Star Wars New Hope that was in the trash compactor type thing. I don't remember what that thing was called. I'm sure somebody knows on here. For the pink areas, that's the tongue and the mouth, we're going to do some Carroburg Crimson, and we're also going to use this on the brain, or if you painted yours something else because you thought it was hair, I thought it was a brain, whatever. The blue little flags. We're going to do some Drakenhof Nightshade. And then in this next frame that you'll see here in a second, we are going to do our green areas on top with them Biel-Tan Green. Let all of this stuff dry, and we will be moving on to the highlight step. All right, this is probably the biggest pain ever for this miniature. But I will say it does look good at the end, at least according to my eyes. We're going to take some bronze badge, and we're going to paint every individual section of this miniature. Now, this did take me a while. But if you want your monster to look shiny, this is kind of what you got to do. Again, this probably took me a solid 45 minutes, maybe more. I did take my time, took some breaks, and just grinded it out. But I think it does look good in the end, and you'll see here in the next shot how it does look good. So it's up to you if you want to do that, or you can keep it more dull-looking bronze. But I went with that bright bronze look. So obviously you can see right here that it is very bright. Again, that's the colors I was going for. Moving on to the flags. I know that was painful to do, but we did leave a lot of the areas undone. So like those joint connectors, we left as is. So we're going to use some Calgar Blue, and we're just going to paint up those raised areas, a little bit of edge highlighting on those flags. And then we'll do one more highlight on that and then move on. All right, for the final highlight on those flags, we're going to do some blue horror, and we're just kind of going over those raised areas, edge highlighting a little bit. I did put some blue in that blue dot in the middle, and I just didn't really overdo it. I just wanted some of that depth of blue. And you can also do a little bit of dry brushing on that maze piece that's in the middle of it. I don't know what that is, but that's up to you. All right, for the top green areas, we're just going to put some of that. We're not going to cover the whole thing, but probably about 80% of it with some Deathworld Forest. And then we're just going to put some Elysian Green on top of that Deathworld Forest. And that's all we're going to do for that right there. Again, I don't know what this is. I don't have a clue. But that's what we came up with. For the skull, we are going to do a reapplication of our Morghast Bone on there. So take your time on that. We're going to do all of the horns, the whole skull. That's how we're doing. So just take your time on that. And then we're going to be doing a highlight that you'll see here in a moment of some Screaming Skull. So just do that like you normally would, and we'll be moving on to some other things. All right, for the bull brain, we are going to be using some pink horror. Again, we're just going over the top of all this, going over the raised areas. If you did it this method, if you didn't, obviously you're not going to watch this part, but whatever. Moving on to the purple areas, we're going to do a reapplication of the Daemonette Hide, and we're just getting over those raised areas. We're not going into those recesses. We're just brightening it up a little bit, and that Druchi Violet that we put in there will add depth into it. We're going to add another color after this, a couple colors, to kind of brighten it up just a little bit. All right, for the next step, we're going to do some edge highlighting, and we're also going to use this on all of the tentacles as well with some Genestealer Purple. Now, if you don't want to brighten it up anymore, you can obviously skip this part, but I'm really working on those tentacles. I will paint over the smooth areas of the tentacles, and I'll do a little bit of a dry brush on those suckers as well before we put on the next portion of paint that we're going to do on those suckers, just to kind of give it some depth. Obviously, you'll see here, I'll just kind of scrape up. There's not much paint on this. I'm just scraping up, keeping those recesses dark while trying to highlight this up. All right, I'm going to do the same type of technique on those suckers using some pink horror. What I'm also going to do, and you'll see here in a moment, is I'm going to just kind of do a little bit of a dry brush on the smooth areas of those tentacles as well, just to give it some little hint of pink on there. And I feel like that adds a little bit more depth to it. So you don't want to overdo it. You just want to kind of mix those purples and pinks together, where you could tell that there's some pink in there, but it's still got that purplish villain from that Disney movie, Little Mermaid. I don't remember what her name was. I think it started with an E. But yeah. And then we're going to use this pink as well on that tongue mouth area, just to kind of brighten that up a little bit. All right, as we're coming down to the wire on this miniature, some Abaddon Black in those eyeballs, just to give it some, obviously, the eyeball look. And then we will be moving on to the base. So obviously we already have it primed in gray, so we're just going to keep it as gray. And we're going to paint over the entirety of the bottom portion with some Nulin Oil, so all those rocks and all that other stuff. While that is drying, we're going to do like a little bit of a base coat with some Black Legion. We're going to get all those areas that aren't the rocks. You can see my hand shaking from the positioning that I was in, and it was not a good position for some reason, and my hand started going nuts. Whatever. Once you put that all on the rim of the base and those other areas, let this dry completely. It's going to take a hot minute. And then we're going to do a dry brush of some Dawnstone. Do that all over the rock areas, the columns, everything that's fallen down, and go over the entirety of that area with some Dawnstone. All right, next we are going to do some gray Seer all over the same exact areas, just to brighten up those rocks and columns that have fallen down, to make it look nice. I am very impressed of how good this base looks for this miniature, so kudos to the designer for that. It definitely adds to the flavor of this miniature. All right. To finish this off, we're going to take a little piece of a sponge, or I think there's like some packing stuff. I don't know what it is. But then just dab it in some Deathguard Green, get most of it off. It's almost like a dry brush, and then you just start dabbing it everywhere. We're going to create a moss effect all over that miniature. You can do as much as you want. You can do as little as you want. It's really up to you. We're going to do a couple colors. So the next color we're going to do is some Elysian Green. And again, we're just going over random areas. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I feel like this adds a lot of depth to the base, and it really helps out the miniature. As you can see, I got a little bit too much right there. It'll dry and it'll look fine. So there's no right or wrong way to do this. It's just get as much as you want, as little as you want, random patterns. Yeah, looks great. Just obviously don't try and get it onto the miniature because you don't want that on there. And then as the last one, we're going to do some Flash Gitz Yellow. Very light on this because Flash Gitz is an obviously very bright color. So just dab it here and there all over the place, and don't overdo it. And then your favorite part of painting the miniature, because it means you're done, is the rim of the base, because we did get some dry brushing on there. So just fix that up real quick with some Abaddon Black, or you can do whatever color you like. And that's it. That's all she wrote. It is done. Very interesting miniature to paint. I actually enjoyed it. I don't know if this is what the designers had in mind, but this is what my brain thought of. So a little weird. Little crazy, but something not that we normally do, especially when we're painting Warhammer and all this other crazy stuff. So, yeah. So that is Chris Sabal's miniature of the month. Thank you, Chris, for that. That was very enjoyable. Again, I want to say thank you to all my YouTube members. You'll get early access to this on Sunday. It will be Monday's video, but you can watch it Sunday night. I want to say thank you to anybody who subscribes, watches this channel, who shares it with a friend, or posts it on a forum, or anything like that. I can't thank you guys enough. We have more Aeon Trespass coming up. Got a whole bunch of stuff. But I love you all, and I will see you on the next one. All right, paint on.